Have you ever thought about what it'd be like in a world where it's only you and nobody else? Just all isolation, no one else around. You know what? Me too. So let's find out by watching this gosh darn video. Alright, so what I have for you today is a video called 10 Things That Would Happen If Humans Suddenly Disappeared. This is weird. Like, honestly, if you're the last human on Earth, what would you do? Like, would you just go around and, like, rob stores and stuff with no one around? There'd be no point, because what are you gonna use the money for? Anyway, before I start, hope you all had a great Christmas, cause I sure didn't. I'm just kidding. It was actually a lot better than I expected. I thought it was gonna be gone to absolute crap because of, COVID and all that, but it turned out good. Anyway, let's react to the video. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Imagine the snap, but instead of wiping out just half of the living population of the universe, it wipes out 100% of all intelligent beings. What do you
That would
think
be
would
so
happen
weird.
to planet Earth? What would happen
A lot.
if we all weren't here? Well, I personally believe that number 1 is the most plausible outcome, so stay tuned for that. Here are
Alright.
10 things that would happen if humans suddenly disappeared. With all that said and done, let's begin, shall we?
Let's
Number
go.
10. The world in total darkness.
Dude,
These days,
oh
there's
my
a lot
God.
of things that we take for granted.
We have so many
Electricity,
lights.
for instance. All we
Yeah.
care about is there's juice coming out of the power outlets in our homes. All we care about is keeping our beloved gadgets working. On a wider
Yeah,
scale, most of
makes
the world
life
will simply
easier,
grind
you
to
know?
a halt if electricity fails. Believe it or not, only a relatively few people worldwide are directly responsible for keeping our homes, cities, and countries powered up. These people work 24/7 just to make sure that power plants all over the world are in good working order. Someone has to be
24/7.
there 24/7, otherwise it just takes a matter of hours for
Gee.
everything to fall apart. Yes, if humans somehow vanish in an instant, the world's power plants will completely shut down due to lack of people maintaining them. And as I've said earlier, it would only take a few hours for this to happen. Lights will stop working, entire cities and countries plunged into total
It'd be
darkness.
so dark
And then the vampires
during the
take
night.
over. Number 9. Global nuclear meltdown. Much of the world's cities are powered by nuclear power plants. Although
True.
they are remarkably efficient in what they were built to do, there's always the risk of disaster that's permanently linked to them. I think I don't have to remind you of the Chernobyl and Fukushima disasters just to give you an idea on how devastating these nuclear meltdowns can actually be.
Yep.
Now, if humans disappear from the face of the Earth, imagine Chernobyl, but on a global scale. Right now, the only thing that's keeping these nuclear power plants from being nuclear bombs are the people working on it. These plants have
Alright.
massive cooling towers which require a lot of water to keep everything from overheating. Its water supply needs to be replenished regularly, so without humans to do all that, all the water from the cooling towers will evaporate, and will eventually lead to massive nuclear explosions worldwide. Some people even think that these explosions would be bigger than Chernobyl and Fukushima combined. Any
Oh,
living
yeah, 'cause
creature within the blast
worldwide.
radius would naturally be eliminated.
Yeah,
Those who
everything would
survive the
die.
blast would also eventually die due to radiation poisoning. Number 8.
So deadly.
Massive flooding. Have you ever
From
wondered why
dams, I
underground
think,
tunnels
maybe?
and
I
subway
don't know.
lines remain water-free even though they were built below water table level? Well, that answer is one word. Pumps.
Yep.
Yes, pumps keeps these areas flood-free. If these pumps
is
somehow
true.
stop working, like let's say when the electricity gets cut, with no electricity and no one around to operate the pumps, underground tunnels will soon begin to fill with water. It actually wouldn't take long for this to happen after the electricity is cut. Many experts believe flooding may happen in just 3 days, and the floodwaters will eventually find its way to the streets, turning many well-known
Gee.
avenues into temporary rivers. Oh, and one more thing, flooding will also have one more unfortunate side effect. Without power, sewage would slowly back up and begin to flood, polluting
Oh,
the surrounding
God.
lakes and the rivers. The
That'd be
sewage would
so
likely poison
horrible.
a number of animals who'd managed to survive thus far. Number 7.
That's
Shooting
disgusting.
stars. Shooting stars
Wait,
are some
what?
of the most amazing things that you can see in the night sky.
Hell
They're
yeah.
extremely rare as well, so consider yourself lucky if you see one and make a wish. But in a world without humans, experts think that would happen more commonly. The thing is, instead of being tiny meteorites burning up as it enters the Earth's atmosphere, they'll be made out of chunks of metal, junk, and old satellites that we've sent out over the
okay.
years.
That is
Experts all
true.
agree that in about
That
a
makes
year into
sense.
the world's existence without humans, the night sky will begin to look very different as satellites begin to fall. Thousands of objects sent by man into orbit will slowly start to fall over the course of several years, appearing like shooting stars in the sky.
That'd be crazy.
Some of the furthest
to
satellites
experience.
do continue to orbit for decades before eventually falling back to Earth. Don't get me wrong, old satellites fall back to Earth even now, but they are few and far in
that is
between
true.
because most satellites on Earth's orbit are actually working and are maintained either by people here on the ground or by astronauts sent up there periodically. Number 6. Mother Nature reclaims what is hers.
That
Around
would
25
be
years
insane.
after humans
Yo,
disappear from the face of the Earth, Mother Nature would have already claimed what's hers. Whatever nuclear fallout that's left from the nuclear plants that melted down would have already dropped to a safe level for living things, especially plants, to thrive. Without maintenance workers to regularly clean them out, the once paved streets and highways will soon be overrun with vegetation.
this would be so cool.
The concrete itself won't survive this onslaught, as the roots would soon break them down into tiny pieces as they crumble to soil in time. Number 5. Steel structures start to crumble. Steel is such
'Cause
an
of rust,
amazing
right?
material. City skylines wouldn't be as magnificent as it is today without
wait.
steel.
Does
I
steel
mean,
rust?
can you
I don't
imagine
know.
a world without the Eiffel
I'm not
Tower and the
smart. What do
Golden
you
Gate
mean?
Bridge? No. Well, neither can I. But the fact is, steel structures aren't going to last forever, especially without regular maintenance. Steel does deteriorate, especially when left out in the
Okay,
elements
I was right.
without
I was right.
protection.
See, I'm not
Although
dumb.
admittedly, any structure made of steel can remain standing for a very long time. But one thing is definite, it's not going to stand there forever.
It's gonna erode.
Experts believe that around 300 years after humans, structures made out of metal and steel would have degraded over time and would have simply crumbled to the ground. Number 4. The decline of domesticated animals. Only a few weeks after we disappear from the face of the earth, many of our domesticated animals and pets will succumb to starvation and dehydration. Very sad, I know, but these are just kind of the facts that we have here.
Because they weren't born into
Most
the
likely,
wild.
many of our furry and feathered
So I don't
friends will
know.
be locked up in our homes in their cages or in barns when the human race dies out. And without having no one to attend to them, these animals that we bred for our leisure or enterprise will kick the bucket because they'd have no means to sustain or feed themselves. The smart ones that may find a way out of our homes may survive a few days longer. But these domestic breeds of pets, especially the smaller ones like your Aunt's Chihuahua or your frisky little terrier, will end up being on the menu of a much
That
larger
joke's on you.
predatory
Mine's like
wildlife that may have
21.
already encroached upon places that humans used to occupy. Suffice to say that the
We got
extinction of humanity
Chihuahuas.
would
Only
also
old
be the
people have
extinction of the
those.
Shih Tzu and other small animal breeds. Number 3. Wildlife takes over. Speaking of animals, when the massive cities that we built and the suburbs that we once occupied have been devoid of our presence, animal life will begin to return to these places. After all, it was theirs to begin with. We just forced them out of there. A good example of this scenario in a microcosm is Chernobyl. When the area was turned into a no man's land after the devastating meltdown of its nuclear power plant, wildlife and even vegetation returned to the region. Wild dogs and birds have returned and began bringing back life, albeit a radioactive and highly contaminated one, to Chernobyl.
Yeah.
On a massive scale, wildlife is bound to return to places that were once their natural habitats, marking new territories and steadily repopulating areas. Now it's time for
Number
today's
1.
best pick. Today's pick shows us the very familiar skyline of New York City, but with a massive
Alright.
difference to what we're used to seeing.
Sand
Instead of
everywhere.
water surrounding the Statue of Liberty, we see a massive desert. Would such a
Yep.
thing be possible when humans suddenly disappear?
I
Well,
mean,
let's find out next with number 2. Rise of the Deserts. Humans have a knack for terraforming. That means we find a place that would normally be uninhabitable, but through sheer will and ingenuity, we can make the harshest of places inhabitable. This includes deserts, and I know that one all too well. When we're all gone, the cities we have built in desert lands, such as Las Vegas and Dubai, will be devoured by sand and turned back into its state as a desert. With only the monuments
Oh my
that we have
God.
built and the structures that we put up as ghosts of what was once our flourishing civilization, these desert cities will be nothing more than just arid landscapes against the blazing backdrop of the sun. Even massive areas in the Western Hemisphere, such as Mexico and California, will turn back to the parched landscapes that they used to be as homes and buildings begin to deteriorate and the heat from the
This would
sun
be so
dries up the
cool.
land once more.
You know what?
Question is, how about places not built in desert lands like New York,
Sick.
for instance?
I want to
It's
see
highly
this.
unlikely because there's a more plausible fate for the Big Apple, which is
I
next
want
on
to
our
witness
list.
this.
Before we move on, do me a favor. My analytics show that only about 50%
Alright,
of you
alright,
watching
alright.
are
Chill,
actually
chill, chill,
subscribed.
chill, chill.
Come on, guys, what's up with that? Can you guys please hit the subscribe button? You guys
Yeah.
watch my videos every day anyway, so you might as well subscribe and keep up to date with every video we put out. Number 1.
Frick's sake.
Waterworld.
Ooh,
At the height of
okay,
mankind's
this would be
expansion of
sick.
territories and the great discoveries of new
Yeah,
lands,
dams
we have
everywhere,
paved
dude.
ways to new regions by building dams and forcing water out of places where they should be.
Yeah.
Delta cities, man-made islands, and
It'd be
places
polluted
where water
water,
has been
but
diverted to create a
that would be
hospitable place
that'd be
to create
awesome.
habitat will be swept away by the very same element we have tried to command.
It's like you go
once we have all
underwater.
bitten the dust as
There's just a
species.
massive city,
Without
just like
anyone to
Atlantis.
maintain them, dam walls, no matter how thick and fortified, will break and release tons and tons of water. When it does, many areas will be sunk in water, turning them back into the rivers and swamplands that they used to be. Bodies of water, such as the Colorado River, will once again flow into the Gulf of Mexico, and the Hoover Dam will crumble to give back the river that it kept contained for decades, if not centuries. Furthermore, sea levels are continuously rising, and the disappearance of man won't do anything to stop it. That spells the end for all coastal cities and other nearby places, which sadly includes New York City.
Now
Do
this
you know
one
of any
is
other
pretty
possible
possible.
outcomes when man totally disappears from the face of the earth? Let us know in the comments down below. Also check out our other channels of amazing videos. As always,
Alright, well, that was it. Honestly, I want to be the last person on the earth. That would be sick. I know it'd be terrifying, but bro, to experience all these things, you know, like all the cities like freaking breaking down and all that, that would be freaking epic. I'd actually want to witness it. I'd be very lonely, but you know what? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. So yeah, hope you guys like this video. See you later.